There are moments in a marriage when time doesn't just slow down, it fractures. You watch yourself from the outside, like a spectator sitting in the farthest row of your own life. That morning in Nashville, in the kitchen I renovated with my own hands, I felt that fracture split right down my spine. The sun was too warm, the coffee smelled too strong. Everly's cereal bowl was still on the counter because she'd rushed to catch the school bus, and Riley stood in front of me holding a pregnancy test like it was a relic dug out of divine soil. Her eyes were already full. Her mouth trembled. And before she said anything, before she inhaled, before the word pregnant even formed, I felt my heart fall straight through the floorboards. She didn't notice the way my knees almost buckled. She didn't notice the way my hand twitched toward the counter to stay upright. She only saw the miracle, the thing she'd begged for, prayed for, bled for emotionally over the last 3 years. The universe finally giving her what she believed she deserved after endless months of hormone tests, ovulation kits scattered like confetti across our bathroom drawers, missed cycles followed by tears on the edge of our bed, the night she cried into my chest saying she felt like her body was betraying her, the fertility clinic consult we almost booked before she said she wasn't ready to give up natural hope yet, the vitamins, the temperature charts, the appointments, all of it. To her, this wasn't just 2 lines on a stick. It was vindication, victory, proof that perseverance pays off. She pressed the test into my hand like I might doubt her. I remember the faint smear of her thumb across the plastic, the heat of her palm, the way her breath hitched when I looked up at her. She whispered something about fate, something about how we were meant to expand our family all along, something about Everly finally getting a sibling. Her voice was breaking, overflowing with the kind of joy people wait their whole lives to feel. I smiled. Automatically. It felt like a reflex, the same way you brace before impact. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her body tremble with happiness, and I kissed the side of her head because that's what a good husband would do. And I stayed there, holding her, letting her sob into my shirt, letting her believe she had just delivered the happiest news of my life. But inside me was frost. Not anger. Anger comes later, sharp and hot. This was colder, thicker, the heavy, paralyzing cold of knowing you're standing in the wrong version of your life. She kept talking, rambling, laughing through tears, touching her stomach like she was already bonding with whatever was inside her. I remember wondering how she didn't feel the truth crawling underneath my skin, how she didn't sense the way my heartbeat had gone flat, how she didn't see the dead stillness in my eyes when she wasn't looking. Because 5 years ago, long before she ever started tracking ovulation on spreadsheets, long before she started crying every month when nothing happened, long before she insisted we try harder, I sat in a hospital oncology wing hearing a doctor say words that rewired my future. The treatment would save my life, but it would take something else with it, permanently. I remember the sterile smell, the soft buzz of fluorescent lights, the doctor's steady voice explaining percentages and probabilities, until the final sentence landed with the weight of a casket. Your infertility is irreversible. Not temporary, not maybe, not partial, total, permanent, irrecoverable. I was 37. We had Everly. Riley was deep in her career, and I thought, stupidly, naively, that protecting her meant protecting the hope she wasn't ready to lose. I thought telling her would break her. So I stayed quiet. I swallowed that truth like poison and let it dissolve inside me over years of failed attempts and her quiet heartbreak. And somehow, in a twisted way, she found comfort in thinking it was her, in thinking her body was the obstacle. She researched diets, supplements, acupuncture, yoga. She blamed stress, blamed age, blamed herself. And I let her. Because the alternative was telling her she'd lost any chance for another baby the same day I almost lost my life. So when she looked me in the eyes now, glowing, radiant, overflowing with gratitude, calling this pregnancy our divine second chance, something in me cracked so violently I felt the echo in my teeth. I told her I needed a moment. She thought it was because I was emotional. She kissed me, wiped her tears, and went upstairs to call her sister and tell her the miracle news. As soon as her footsteps faded, I walked to my office like a man moving underwater, every breath shallow, every blink too slow. I closed the door, locked it, leaned my forehead against the wood for a full minute just to steady myself. Then I went to the filing cabinet, the one she never touched, opened the bottom drawer, reached behind the folders until my fingers brushed the sealed envelope I'd hidden there 5 years ago. The medical document was exactly where I left it, crisp edges, official seal, my full name in bold across the top, the words "Total Irreversible Sterility," sitting like a landmine in black ink. I held it in both hands, stared, let the truth bleed through me all over again. Riley Sullivan, my wife of 14 years, the woman I built a life and a daughter with, was carrying a child. But not mine. Not ever mine. A miracle doesn't happen in a dead garden. I sank into the chair, the paper shaking between my fingers, and felt something inside me turn to stone. Heavy, immovable, cold in a way that promised a storm. Upstairs, I could hear her laughing softly on the phone, telling her sister that Blake is over the moon, that this was the happiest day of our lives, that fate had finally chosen us. Fate hadn't chosen anything, but I was about to. Pregnancy has a way of warming a house. Soft blankets on the couch, vitamins on the counter, ultrasound photos on the fridge held by magnets shaped like hearts. I watched all of that appear slowly over the months, filling every corner of our home with a glow that should have felt like hope, but for me felt like insulation over a corpse. Riley didn't notice the difference. She saw the glow, not the rot, and I let her. The weeks after finding the burner phone felt like walking through a museum of someone else's life, perfectly staged, perfectly clean, perfectly meaningless. Riley was radiant, floating. She began talking to the baby when she cooked dinner, humming when she folded laundry, pressing her palm to her stomach like she was already holding a future. Our bed became a shrine of prenatal books, baby name lists, and half-written letters she planned to give our miracle child when they turned 18. I watched her rewrite history in real time, and every rewrite buried me deeper. But I kept smiling, because I'd already made the choice to become what the situation demanded, a ghost wearing a husband's skin. When the first doctor appointment came, she cried on the way there, laughing through tears about how nervous and excited she was. She squeezed my hand so tightly in the parking lot that her nails left half-moon marks in my palm. I kissed her forehead, played my part, listened to the doctor's explanations as if the heartbeat on the monitor wasn't pounding a truth I already knew. She held my arm and whispered, "This is our second chance." I smiled. She didn't notice the deadness in my eyes. By the second appointment, she was showing. By the fourth, she'd picked out themes for the nursery. By the sixth, she insisted we start buying clothes, just a few outfits, because she didn't want to wait until the last minute. She walked through baby stores glowing like a teenage girl planning her dream wedding. I pushed the stroller samples, tested crib latches, asked questions about car seat safety, all while my chest felt hollow enough to echo. Every woman in those store aisles saw her happiness and my performance and said things like, "Oh, he's going to be such a good dad to two?" I nodded, took the compliment, swallowed the acid. Month after month, Riley's belly grew. Month after month, my silence calcified. I didn't spy on her every second. I didn't need to. The relationship between her and Caleb wasn't emotional, it was physical, impulsive, sloppy. They didn't exchange romantic declarations. They didn't talk about leaving their families. They just kept doing it because they could, because it felt dangerous, exciting, because they were stupid enough to think the universe would never punish them for it. Riley's trips to regional offices continued. Caleb's late shifts continued. They both got comfortable again. I didn't confront, I observed. She'd kiss me before leaving for work travel, her perfume sweet and warm, and I'd watch her drive away knowing she was heading toward a man who didn't love her, didn't want her life, didn't know the chaos she was creating inside her body. She'd come home glowing from adrenaline she mistook for career satisfaction. She'd curl into my chest at night talking about how lucky she was, how she couldn't imagine life with anyone else. She'd run my hand over her stomach, whispering, "Our little blessing." I'd nod slowly, touch her hair, and feel absolutely nothing. 9 months is a long time to pretend you're alive. But pretending became easier than I expected, because in pretending I discovered something new about myself. I was no longer grieving. The death of our marriage wasn't something I mourned, it was something I dissected, piece by piece, decision by decision. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was an architect studying a collapsed structure before designing its demolition. By the midpoint of her pregnancy, I knew every detail of their affair: dates, hotels, emails, photos. I studied them with professional detachment, the same way I looked at blueprints for a new luxury home. No emotion, no reaction, just information that would serve a purpose. Riley thought she was glowing because she was becoming a mother again. She was glowing because she was living in a fantasy built on lies, a fantasy I nurtured deliberately. I made her smoothies in the mornings, installed the crib myself, painted the nursery walls a soft sage color because she said it was calming, placed my hand on her belly in public so strangers would smile at us like we were a perfect little family. I never missed a single appointment, not one. Every ultrasound photo, every test result, every heartbeat audio, I was there, standing next to a woman who had no idea she was carrying evidence of her own betrayal. As her due date approached, she grew more sentimental. She'd rest on my chest at night, whispering that I'd always been such a good father to Everly, that she felt lucky to raise 2 children with a man who loved so deeply, that she didn't know what she'd do without me. I'd stroke her back, listening to her breathe, and think about how long it had been since I truly knew her, since she truly knew me, since we had been anything other than strangers sleeping in the same house. Then one evening, she brought home brochures for birthing classes. "We should go together," she said, eyes shining with affection. I agreed without hesitation, and I sat through every session, listening to instructors talk about teamwork, bonding, the importance of trust between partners, all while she held my hand, unaware of the countdown ticking beneath her feet. The betrayal wasn't the pregnancy. The betrayal wasn't even the affair. The betrayal was the intimacy, the pretending, the belief she could build a future on top of lies without the foundation ever cracking. The cruelest truth is that I could have confronted her at any point. But confrontation is mercy. Confrontation is closure. Confrontation is human. And I wasn't interested in being human anymore. I was interested in destruction. So I kept building toward the moment she'd remember for the rest of her life, the moment she'd replay whenever she closed her eyes. She'd think of it when she told our daughter the truth someday. She'd think about it when strangers whispered, when friends avoided her, when silence filled the empty spaces where trust used to be. She believed she was living in the happiest time of her life, and I made sure she enjoyed every second of it, because the happiest moments taste the sweetest right before the fall. 9 months. 9 months of ultrasounds, nursery shopping, baby showers, late-night cravings, hand-holding, gentle compliments, staged photos, and carefully rehearsed smiles. 9 months of her building a future. 9 months of me building a stage. And in the end, both constructions would collapse in the same moment. There's a moment in every long con when the actor stops pretending and becomes the mask. By the time Riley entered her third trimester, that's what I was. Something shaped like a husband, but hollowed out, walking through a script with perfect timing and zero emotion. She thought it was devotion. She thought pregnancy softened me. The truth was simpler. I didn't care enough to feel anything anymore. But care isn't necessary for planning. Precision is. And I've spent my entire adult life turning empty lots into million-dollar homes. Planning was second nature. So while she slept curled into my side each night, dreaming about birth plans and nursery layouts, I was downstairs at my office desk, building blueprints for her destruction. It started quietly, an email to an event planner, a rental requests, a budget draft, a design sketch for a backyard setup that looked like a cross between a luxury wedding and a charity gala. Riley always wanted a spectacular gender reveal, something Instagram-worthy, something everyone would remember. She used to show me videos of strangers firing off smoke cannons and dancing around in fountains of pink or blue glitter. She never imagined hers would be remembered for the rest of her life, for entirely different reasons. The planner thought I was the sweetest husband alive when I told her I wanted the biggest, most elaborate setup possible because my wife deserved it after everything she's been through. She cooed into the phone, told me I was thoughtful, told me Riley was lucky. I thanked her, booked the date, wired the deposit. It was easy to play loving husband. It's the only role Riley still believed in. Then came the photographer, the videographer, catering, string lights, a luxury floral designer. I spared no expense, an excellent investment considering what was coming. The LED wall was the most important piece, and I upgraded it 3 times to ensure the quality was flawless, ultra-high resolution, crisp enough that no one in that backyard would misunderstand a single image. While Riley was rubbing lotion into her stretching belly, sending Everly to bed, or scrolling Pinterest for baby bedding, I reviewed the event layout with military focus, guest flow, camera angles, sequence timing, sound cues. I knew exactly where every guest would stand when her life detonated. The only thing I didn't plan was the guest list, because Riley did that for me. She insisted on inviting Caleb and Vanessa. Of course she did. Family friends, she said, our closest couple. They've supported us so much. Each time she said it, my jaw tensed so hard it hurt. But I smiled, acted delighted, even added their names to the top of the list like they were guests of honor. The irony was exquisite. While she sorted RSVPs at the kitchen table, I was upstairs editing a video file she thought didn't exist. She'd been putting together a sweet little family montage for the reveal. Photos from our wedding, Everly's baby pictures, clips of vacations and ultrasound images. She spent hours choosing the perfect music and transition timing. She'd show me early drafts with tears in her eyes. She never noticed I wasn't really looking, because the montage she created would never see the light of day. My version started with our wedding photo, us, smiling, blissfully young before the rot set in. Then a shot of Everly as a newborn, our first real miracle. Then a fade to black, and then 6 months of their affair. But not the explicit stuff. I wasn't out to traumatize children. I wasn't out to humiliate for the sake of humiliation. No, it was curated, clean, efficient. The kind of evidence that collapses any excuse. Photos of Riley and Caleb inhaling each other in a dim hotel room. Riley wearing Caleb's hoodie. Their shadows on a hotel bed. Hotel receipts. Screenshot of a calendar showing their trips overlapping. Her reflection in a mirror while he held her from behind. Not porn, just betrayal in its purest, undeniable form. 60 seconds. Long enough for silence to erupt. Short enough for maximum precision. I probably watched the final cut 20 times. By the end, I didn't feel anger, or sadness, or anything. It was just a tool, a button waiting to be pushed. Meanwhile, Riley walked through the house with her pregnant glow, gentle hands moving across her stomach like she was touching the future. She'd smile at me with tenderness she believed was reciprocated. She had no idea that the man she slept beside each night was already gone. To her, our life was finally perfect again. To me, the countdown had begun. As our due date neared, people kept telling us how lucky we were, how beautiful Riley looked, how happy our family seemed. I thanked them, played along, even leaned into the role harder. I held doors for Riley, massaged her back, bought her favorite snacks at 2 a.m. when cravings hit. The deeper the lie, the sweeter the revenge. There's a special kind of cruelty in letting someone believe they are safe while you quietly build the trap beneath them. The week of the reveal, boxes filled with decorations and equipment flooded our garage. Riley squealed each time something new arrived. She ran her hands over the smoke cannons. She held a little pink ribbon and wondered aloud whether it would be a girl or a boy. She placed her palm on her stomach and whispered to the baby, "I can't wait to meet you." It made my chest hurt, not with sadness, but with the strange, empty ache of watching someone decorate a house you know is already condemned. 2 nights before the party, she couldn't sleep. The baby was kicking hard. She lay with her head on my chest, whispering how grateful she was to be building this life with me. She told me she didn't know how she'd survive the last few difficult years without me. She said I was her anchor. I kissed her forehead, closed my eyes, kept my breathing steady, because an anchor is only useful until the ship sinks. The night before the event, after she finally drifted to sleep, I placed 2 manila envelopes on my desk. The first, the medical document confirming my complete infertility. The second, the divorce papers and the voluntary termination of my parental rights. I sat there for a long time staring at them, not doubting, not wavering, just absorbing the stillness before the storm. By morning, the backyard would be a cathedral of joy. By afternoon, it would be a graveyard. And Riley still didn't know she was already standing on the ashes. There's a stillness that settles over a man right before the moment he destroys his own life. Not by accident, not in panic, but with intention sharper than any blade. The morning of the gender reveal, that stillness lived in my bones. I woke before sunrise, watched the sky turn from indigo to soft pink, and felt nothing. No nerves, no shaking hands, no doubt. Just the quiet certainty of a man who knows the last page of his story with someone has already been written, and today he simply reads it aloud. Riley woke up humming. She had that bright morning energy she only got when she was deeply excited, the kind she used to have before Everly was born, back when we were younger and life felt like a house we were building, one brick at a time. She kissed my shoulder, rested her head on my chest, whispered that she couldn't believe this day was finally real. I wrapped an arm around her out of habit, not tenderness. She never noticed. She never looked closely enough these days. In the backyard, the event team was already setting up, the massive LED screen rising like a cathedral wall, the smoke cannons positioned on each side of the archway, the floral arrangements forming soft pastel shadows in the early light, tables, white chairs, string lights, perfect symmetry, a celebration built like a luxury product launch. Riley cried when she saw it. "You did all this for me?" she asked, voice shaking. I smiled the way a man smiles when he knows the ground beneath someone's feet is already cracking. "For us," I said. By noon, guests started arriving. Friends Riley adored, neighbors we'd barbecued with, her colleagues from the pharmaceutical company, families with kids, laughter, music, that soft buzz of people celebrating something pure and hopeful. I moved through the crowd, shaking hands, hugging relatives, thanking people for coming. If anyone sensed the glacier under my skin, they didn't show it. Then came the morrows. Caleb, sunglasses on, relaxed in that smug way men get when they're convinced the world bends for them. Vanessa smiling warmly, pushing the stroller, their 2 kids bouncing excitedly beside her. A normal family on a normal afternoon, stepping unknowingly into the burn zone. Riley beamed when she saw them, hugged Vanessa, touched Caleb's arm longer than she should have. He grinned at her in a way no family friend should grin at a pregnant married woman. The arrogance was nauseating. But it didn't matter. Their time was nearly up. Riley drifted from group to group, hand on her stomach, telling the story of how hard we'd tried for this baby, how much this meant, how grateful she was. People touched her shoulder, congratulated us, commented on her glow. Everyone was waiting for the reveal. The screen played soft background animations while kids chased each other through the yard. Everly ran around proudly wearing a big sister shirt. She tugged at my hand every few minutes, asking if the moment was soon. Each time I nodded, swallowing the knot forming in my throat. If there was one thing in this world I loved without hesitation, it was her. And today, even her world would crack. You don't destroy families without casualties. The planner signaled me around 3 p.m. The cannons were ready, the guests gathered. Riley took her place beside me, glowing, her hand slipping into mine. I didn't pull away. She deserved to feel safe right up until the exact second she wasn't. Everyone counted down. 3, 2, 1. The smoke burst upward in a brilliant plume, pink swirling through the air like a celebration of everything a little girl represents. People cheered, clapped, screamed, some cried. Riley let out a choked laugh, tears filling her eyes again, turning to me with pure, unfiltered joy. And then the music cut. The LED screen flickered. The cheers faded into murmurs. Riley frowned, confused. Caleb looked up lazily, not worried. Vanessa continued smiling, not yet noticing what was about to open beneath her life. The first image appeared. Riley, hotel bed, her hair tangled, wearing nothing but a sheet around her hips. A gasp shot through the crowd so hard it moved the air. Next frame, Caleb behind her, kissing her shoulder in a dim hotel room with a patterned headboard. Not explicit, but unmistakable. Silence crushed the backyard. No one breathed. A woman at the front covered her mouth with both hands. A kid grabbed his father's arm, asking what was happening. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," with the fear of someone watching a car crash in slow motion. Riley's face drained of color instantly. She took one step back, then another, shaking her head, whispering, "Stop! Stop! No!" But there was no sound behind the words. Vanessa blinked twice, confused, then horrified. Her hand flew to her chest, her lips trembled, her eyes flicked to her husband, and in that moment, the truth hit her like a physical blow. The next image, Riley and Caleb at a hotel mirror, fully closed, but wrapped around each other in a way no innocent explanation could repair. Then more. Riley laughing while holding Caleb's shirt in her hand. Caleb's hand sliding across her waist at some rooftop bar. Their hotel check-in confirmation stacked in a timeline. 16 months, different cities, same pattern. No narration, no music. Just silence loud enough to break bones. Riley screamed something, a strangled animal sound, and lunged toward the screen, but I stepped in front of her. And the instant I did, the screen froze on the last slide. 16 months of truth. People stared at me. At her. At Caleb. At Vanessa, who was shaking, tears streaming down her cheeks as she covered their children's heads and pulled them toward her. Riley reached for me, grabbing my arm with trembling fingers. "Blake, please, please!" But I pulled away. I handed her the first envelope. She opened it. The medical document. 5 years old. The diagnosis. The note confirming my irreversible, total infertility. She made a sound I've only heard from dying animals. Then I gave her the second envelope. Divorce papers. And the voluntary termination of my parental rights to Everly and to the unborn child she once called our miracle. She collapsed onto the grass, sobbing so violently her body shook. People stepped back, horrified, whispering, staring. I took the microphone because there was one final line left in the script. My voice didn't shake. "Your miracle belongs to someone else. So do both kids now. I'm out." I placed the mic on the ground. Vanessa screamed at Caleb, raw, broken, dragging their children away as he stood frozen, as pale as chalk, staring at the screen like it was the end of his universe. Riley reached for my leg, grabbing at my jeans, crying my name, begging, choking out pleas that dissolved into mud. I didn't look back, not once. I walked out of my own backyard, past the shocked crowd, past the shattered remains of two families and stepped into the quiet street. Free. Finished. Done. Thank you for staying with the story until the end. I'm really curious how you felt about all of this. Do you think the main character did the right thing? What would you have done in his place? Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to read your perspective, because even for me, this situation feels very conflicted and far from simple. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe and leave a like so you don't miss the next videos on the channel.